Hi friends, I have two stories to read to you. Mr. Finnegan and Me and Music to My Ears. I'll start with Music to My Ears. It's by Leila C. Edwards and illustrated by Diane Greenside. What do you see the girl doing on the front? Dancing? Doing ballet? I wonder why the story is called Music to My Ears. Let's find out. I have loved music for as long as I can remember. Mama says I was singing before I was talking. She says that I sang in my crib, and I wasn't just making noises, but really singing. I sang whatever I heard on the radio or TV, and I still do. My brother Anthony says I'm a music head. I guess he's right. But the music's not just in my head. Music is in all of me, all the time. Almost any kind of music makes me want to move, and my body goes whatever way feels right. I have even squirmed in my seat before music was playing. Once at a school assembly, I sang and rocked in my seat without knowing it. I suddenly noticed all the other kids looking at me, and I turned red. I have wondered why other people don't feel music as strongly. Anthony likes music. He has plenty of CDs, and sometimes I catch him dancing around while he listens. He does not dance or sing when there's no music, however, and I do that all the time. Even at dinner, sometimes I sing. I don't realize I'm doing it, but I guess there's just music playing inside me all the time. I thought that I was the only person who felt this way until I met Mrs. Lewis, who lives in our building. Mom and I were coming home from the store. Mrs. Lewis had several bags, and she dropped her wallet as she went through the door. "Quick, Celia, please pick that up and take it to her," said Mom. I picked up the wallet and ran ahead, but Mrs. Lewis was already gone. Anthony and I took the wallet to Mrs. Lewis, and Mrs. Lewis and I became friends. One day she said, "Celia, you are always singing when I see you." "I guess I can't help it," I replied. She laughed and said, "I was the same way. In fact, I think I am still the same way. Do you like to dance?" "I don't really know how to dance, but I love the feeling," I answered. "Well, that's dancing," she said. One day, Mrs. Lewis invited us into her apartment. There were designs hanging on the walls, and there were statues on tables. There were paintings in bright colors, and there were lots of pictures. While she and Mama were talking, I walked over to the piano because I wanted a closer look at all the pictures. Mrs. Lewis was in most of them, and in most of them, she was dancing. In some of the pictures, she was with a lot of dancers. In some of the pictures, she was all by herself. There were pictures of Mrs. Lewis as a young girl, and there were pictures of her as an adult. There were also pictures of her as she looked now. Some pictures showed her standing with other people. Some of these photos were autographed. That means that someone signed the picture. In one picture, she was in front of a group of children in dance clothes. I turned around and Mrs. Lewis was smiling at me. "There are a lot of years on that piano, aren't there, Celia? My career has been a patchwork of things. I've had a lot of jobs, all so that I could still keep dancing. I could never sit still." I nodded again because I knew that feeling. I went many places and met many people. They were all people like me who felt the feeling. "Do you still dance, Mrs. Lewis?" I wanted to know. "Yes, I do, because I cannot not dance, Celia. It's just a part of me, but mostly now I teach," Mrs. Lewis replied. "What kind of dance do you teach, Mrs. Lewis?" Mama asked. "Why, I teach all styles, including tap, jazz, ballet, modern, just about anything. Swing is back in now, just as it was when I was a girl, but I suppose I like ballet most of all." Do you like ballet? In ballet, you learn to feel your body very well. You learn exactly where you are. You learn balance. Balance is the key to all dance, Celia. Of course, I didn't know that when I started. I thought dance was just about moving. It's not? I asked. Dance is movement in balance, she said. I'll bet your body already knows part of it. We get in time with the music and then we move from one place to another place with the music. Yes, I said, nodding. I could feel that as I imagined myself dancing. Well, balance is important in all three places. Three places? I asked. The position you start from is one, Mrs. Lewis said. The position you move to is the second. The position you take as you move from one to another is a third. Even in the simplest move, you must be in balance all three times. Finally, Mama laughed and said, "It's time for Mrs. Lewis to dismiss this class, but I want to speak with Mrs. Lewis for a moment." Anthony and I went on ahead, and Mama stayed and talked to Mrs. Lewis for a minute. When Mama came home, she gave me the best news ever. I'm going to learn ballet, and I'm going to learn how well I can balance because tomorrow is my first day in Mrs. Lewis's dance school. She sounds so excited. That's awesome that she knows someone that can teach her how to dance. What a great story. This story is called Mr. Finnegan and Me. What do you see in the picture on the front? Musical instruments. That's right. You'll have to see if Mr. Finnegan knows anything about instruments. This is by Ellen Applebaum, illustrated by Midori Mori. That's a fun name to say, Midori Mori. March 1st. It's like they're writing in a journal. For as far back as my memory stretches, I have had a mysterious neighbor. He wears a formal black suit and a formal white shirt every Friday night, Saturday, and Sunday afternoon. Oddest of all is the small, long suitcase he usually carries. I don't want to be rude, so I try not to stare at his case, but I really want to know what's in it. We don't exactly speak to each other. We nod, smile, and mumble hello when we run into each other at the elevator. I wonder what's in the case. March 2nd. My class at school has been rehearsing for our spring concert. It's just a week away now. Every single afternoon, we practice our songs, dances, and skits. I'm singing a solo in the performance. My song is called "Oh, What a Beautiful Morning." My teacher says it's a glorious tune. The sets and costumes are ready. The actors, singers, dancers, and musicians are ready too. We have invited the entire school to attend the performance and, of course, our friends and families. March 3rd. Today, when my mom and I came home from school, we met our mysterious neighbor at the elevator. This time he was wearing jeans and a sports shirt. He carried his little suitcase, just like always. I had the music for my solo in my hand. "Hi, neighbors," he said. He shook hands with my mom and me. "My name is Mr. Finnegan," he continued. "I see you have sheet music. What instrument do you play?" "I'm Connor," I answered. "I don't play any instrument. I sing. This is music for my class concert. It's the solo I'm singing." Mr. Finnegan looked at my sheet music with great interest. "Oh, what a beautiful morning," he said. "I know that song very well. It is one of my favorites. It's from a famous musical called Oklahoma." "How do you know my song?" I asked him. "I'm a musician. I know how to play many different instruments, but I play the flute for a living," he replied. "I play in an orchestra. It's called the New York Philharmonic." Mr. Finnegan showed us his small suitcase. I was finally going to find out what was in it. He opened it up and there was a flute. It rested in two parts in grooves in a purple velvet lining. That is the secret in the mysterious suitcase. Mr. Finnegan showed Mom and me all the parts of his flute and how they work. He gave us a little concert right there in the elevator. It was totally amazing. He's very good. The concert's only 2 days away. I can sing my solo in my sleep. I wonder what the flute sounds like. Do you know what a flute sounds like? It kind of has a whistly bird sound. You hold it like this, like Mr. Finnegan is holding it to the side, and blow across the hole. March 8th, 10:30 a.m. Guess what? I woke up today with no voice. The loudest sound I can make is a whisper. I have a doctor appointment this afternoon. I hope the doctor can get my voice back. Otherwise, my chances of performing are ruined. Mom called my teacher, Mr. Reederman. First, he was shocked. Then he wished me a speedy recovery. Finally, he let it slip that he will tell my stand-in to practice my part carefully, just in case. March 8th, 8:30 p.m. I've been drinking hot soup and resting my voice. I still sound awful. We ran into Mr. Finnegan on our way home from the doctor. When he greeted me, I waved back and whispered, "Hello." Mr. Finnegan looked quite concerned. He seemed to understand everything I was feeling. I guess that's because he's a performer too. He scribbled a message on a scrap of paper and handed it to my mother. She read it, nodded, and tucked it into her wallet. I wonder what the note was about. March 9th, 7:30 a.m. There's no hope of getting better in time for the concert. The show will go on without me. My stand-in will do my solo and hear the applause that was meant for me. If I yanked the bedroom curtains shut and hid under the blankets, I might be able to pretend it's still night and just go back to sleep. March 9th, 2:30 p.m. Mr. Finnegan turned up at my apartment a few hours ago. When he saw my sorrowful expression, he flashed me a big smile. Mr. Finnegan placed an envelope on my dresser and said, "Feel better?" Then he left. I slipped out of bed, padded across to my dresser, and picked up the envelope. I opened it up. Inside were 2 backstage passes to a rehearsal of the New York Philharmonic Orchestra. I ran to show these passes to my mother. A comet could not streak any faster. She didn't act too surprised, though, so I guess that's what the secret note was all about. March 23rd. Today was the orchestra rehearsal. Mom gave our passes to an usher. He led us down the aisle of the auditorium, up the side steps, and through a little wooden door on the left. We were backstage. The stage crew rushed around. They had to operate the sound system, control the lights, and fix any last-minute problems. 2 of them carefully crept up a ramp to adjust a few spotlights. The performance backstage was entirely different from the performance on stage. We watched the rehearsal from backstage. When the orchestra finished, Mr. Finnegan waved to me that I should walk out to his place on stage. When I got there, he began to play the opening notes of "Oh, What a Beautiful Morning." He nodded at me to sing, and I did. I got to sing my solo, only I sang it on the stage at Avery Fisher Hall. Some of the musicians who were still there stopped to listen. A few even clapped when I was finished. Wow. April 1st. It's funny how things work out sometimes. If I had not lost my voice, would I have ever really gotten to know Mr. Finnegan? Would I actually have sung my solo on stage at the very famous Avery Fisher Hall? Mr. Finnegan is my music teacher now. He's teaching me to play the piano so I can play along as I sing. Who knows what will happen next? I certainly can't wait to find out. Me neither. That's a great story. He sounded disappointed that he didn't get to sing, but his nice neighbor, Mr. Finnegan, gave him a chance to sing anyway. What a cool experience. That's so nice of him. What a kind thing to do. All right, friends, it sounds like there are 2 books about people getting taught how to do something, dancing and playing an instrument. Very cool. I wonder what kinds of things you will be taught to do. What kind of instrument do you want to learn how to play? Or what kind of dance do you want to learn how to do? It's amazing. There are so many things you can learn to do, and you can do anything. All right, friends. See you next time. Bye.